Okay. Let me just make sure I write my form number on here. This one's home body. So I need to cut that out, but first let's go ahead and true the front bodice. So I'll start by squaring what I can on the neck, even if it's just 1/8 of an inch. A little bit of squaring is good. And I'll square the waist. So again, I'm lining one of the lines on my ruler up with my center front line and making sure that I'm drawing a right angle right there so it's nice and square. I will go ahead and check my dart placement measurement and make sure that is in the correct spot. It is. So dart placement is 3. And then I'll come over and mark this dart leg. And this is my apex right here. And I could actually get fancy here. I mean, I made the label, so this is a cool little shield that Quan got me so that you can cover up something that you don't want to erase while you're erasing the thing that you do want to erase. Thank you, Quan. I love it. So I'm going to go ahead and replace my word that I wrote in pencil. I'm going to replace that with my sticker. Now again, writing everything in writing everything by hand is perfectly fine. Not a problem at all. I think I'm going to edit this file for you guys so that apex is smaller, and maybe I'll also add on here vanishing point and drill hole in a small font. And if I don't get to it, you can do it. I think this is like a 43 font or something like that. So maybe I'll put like bust level there, and maybe I'll put apex here. Another thing to think about with these adhesive things, they're probably more suited to manila pattern than first pattern, because first pattern we will fold up when all is said and done. We'll have to fold it a little bit to get it into an envelope, and then we might want to take it out and iron it someday, and ironing these labels sounds like a bad idea. So you can print this on just regular printer paper. Okay, so this is the apex. So now I'm going to go ahead and draw my dart legs up to the apex. Not my dart legs, guide marks up to the apex. One more thing that I should do as well is check that this is the correct distance. Whew, thank goodness. If that had been wrong, I could have covered up my mistakes just by gluing some dot paper over top of anything that I didn't want. Or because this is white, manila paper, you can't use whiteout, but on this dot paper you could use whiteout. But I feel like if the mistake is really big, oh, actually I don't want to do that. I'm going to do this part in pencil. If the mistake is really big, then I usually just paste some paper over it. So this is just my my guide marks. And then this is actually my vanishing point. So I'll handwrite it for now, but ultimately I'll maybe print something out that says vanishing point. So this is a 1/2 inch distance. Double check that is true. So 1/2 inch, and this is my vanishing point. And then I'll find, so I already marked the middle of my dart. So I'll go ahead and draw the middle of my dart, which is supposed to point at the apex. And then a 1/2 inch down from the dart vanishing point, I'll go ahead and make another mark. This is the drill hole that we normally, so down another 1/2 inch. And this is the drill hole or the punch hole that you would normally mark head seam allowance. This is a sloper, so we're putting some extra marks here that would help us with pattern manipulation so that we don't have to think about it later. It's already there. And now I will draw my actual dart legs from the notch at the waist to the vanishing point, a 1/2 inch below the apex. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and fold that dart leg. Up to the vanishing point. And then I'll put my finger on the vanishing point and bring that leg over to the other leg. And then just press that center fold. And then I'll go ahead and tape the dart shut. I want to tape it really close to the end of the dart, but I don't want to put tape across my waist arc because I want to rule in my waist arc with a curve. Let me get some things out of my way. And I'll put the flat part of my curve towards my center front, and my curvy part of my curve towards my waist. Let me turn it this way. Put my tape behind to help it cup for the bust. Trying to get it to not flop over and hide what you need to see. So I'll shift this waist curve, or this variform curve, until I get something that looks a lot like the shape of my waist. And then I'll go ahead and draw that in. So I just need it to blend into my straight line. And then I'll go ahead and use a flexible ruler to measure my waist arc. So I think that was supposed to be, what, 6 7/8? Yeah, 6 7/8 was my original waist arc, 6 7/8. I'm going to do it this way, I think, so that I can see that my dart placement lands in the right place. And then I keep coming over until I get to 6 7/8. So that's my actual waist arc, but I need 1/4 of an inch ease beyond that. So this is waist arc, which would be skin tight. She wouldn't be able to breathe or anything, which is 6 7/8. And then this right here is my 1/4 of an inch ease. So these two together are 7 1/8. So now I have confirmed that is good. Another thing I could do here, and I should do it with the back waist too, is compare them to the skirt. So I could fold up all my darts and just match from center front to side seam on the skirt, but the cupping of the darts makes it kind of annoying. So usually what I do is I just match dart placement to dart placement, and then I skip over the darts, and then I measure the dart space after the dart on the bodice, and then I skip over the second dart on the skirt, and then I measure the space after the dart on the bodice. And I usually flip the skirt upside down to do that. So this is my center front. So that notch for my dart lands right on my line for my dart on my bodice. So that's good news. Now I'm going to skip over the skirt dart, and I'm also going to skip over the waist dart, and I'm going to put the second notch of the first dart on the skirt on the second leg of the bodice dart. And I'm just going to match up the waist seams to each other and do the first leg of the second dart. And then I just make a little tiny mark for myself so I know where it is. So this is where the dart hit on the skirt. And then I'm going to skip over to the second dart leg and line that up. And what I should find is that the side waist of the skirt lines up exactly with the side waist of my bodice. So now I'm sure that my skirt and my bodice are going to line up. So the first darts are going to line up to each other when I have center front line up. And once the darts are sewn shut, also the side waists will touch each other. So I can do that same thing on the back bodice. So I'll take the back bodice and the back skirt, and I'll flip the back skirt over. This is my center back line right here. I haven't cut this off yet. And I'm going to put my center back skirt right up to it. And then what I should find is that my notches for my center back skirt and my center back waist match each other at that first dart leg. And then I'm going to skip over the dart and skip over the skirt dart and take the notches for the second dart leg of the first dart and match those up to each other. And then I'll go along that dart space on the skirt matched up to the waistline on my bodice, and I'll make a mark for where the first leg of the second dart on the skirt is, and then I'll move the second dart, the second leg of the second dart, to that mark that I made. And what I should find is that when that's lined up, my side waist corners also match each other. So now I know that my back skirt waistline and bodice waistlines match each other. So that's good news. Okay, so back to this front bodice. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw the line from my side waist mark that includes the 1/4 of an inch ease up to the underarm that includes the half. So I'm going to connect those dots to create my side seam. Then I'll go ahead and draw a little platform. So I'll take one of the lines of my ruler and line it up with my side seam so that I can make a nice flat little platform for my curve to land on at my underarm. And before I commit to that, I'm going to go ahead and grab my back bodice, and I'm going to line up the side waist front and back to each other, and then line up and make sure that these are right on top of each other. So it looks like I could move this down like a 1/16 of an inch. So let me go ahead and do that. And then down here at the waist, this should be a smooth curve where these two meet. If it's not a smooth curve, then I would go ahead and take one of my curves and just smooth out just the tiniest bit right here to make sure that when these two are lined up to each other when we sew them, they create a smooth curve. So now I can move my back bodice out of the way. My side seams are going to match. And then I'm going to square off my, oh yeah, I already squared my center front neck. Great. One more thing I'll go ahead and check real quick. I'll make a little mark for where my HBL is. No, not HBL, high point shoulder, HPS. So I'll make a little mark for that. I'll fold up my shoulder dart, tape that shut, and then I'll just match from my neck and make sure that my neck curves look smooth right there where they meet, and make sure that my shoulders are the same length. So I'm going to check this one more time. But I'm also going to create a line right here to make sure that that's a smooth transition. And then I'll mark where my original shoulder was on my drape. And then I'm going to come up 1/16 of an inch from there. I'm going to extend this a little bit. And extend this a little bit, just so that I can put my 1/16 of an inch mark from my ruler onto those extension lines, and I can draw my new shoulder line 1/16 of an inch above my original. And then I'll just take those and match those up one more time now that I've extended the shoulder, and make sure that we're still going to get a nice smooth transition, and everything's going to line up. So I'll just connect a little 1/16 of an inch mark right there. Now I'm ready to go ahead and draw my neck and armhole curves. So I usually put the curliest part of the curve towards the center front neck, and try and find myself a good spot. Now I'm on this side of the curve, so it's the curve is very thin, but it's hard for me to see over this ledge and where it's hitting the neck curve. So I'm going to turn this around so that I can get a better view. That's better. It's loud outside today. It's cold in my studio, and it's warm outside, so I opened up my window. And I have a very quiet street, but it's like everybody decided to drive down my street today. I'm going to try the inside of the curve and see if I like that better. So I think I do, but now I have the issue where the ledge is on this side, so I'm going to spin it around again. And see if I really did like that curve or not. Okay, I think that looks good. Maybe I want to have that be a little bit deeper right there. I'm being fussy like this just so that you feel comfortable like checking and editing and figuring out the spot for your curves as well. So I used one part of the curve for this part and a different part of the curve for this part, and I got something that's closer to those needle point holes that I made when I transferred my drape. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the armhole. It's easier for me to see this edge if I have it this way. So I just position the paper in a way that's easy for me to see. I want to make sure that I don't extend past my dotted line. All right, so I need the curve to stay on that side of the dotted line, and I need my curve to stay above this platform that I drew, and I need my curve to stay inside this little platform that I drew here. So I can't let this part of the curve come in this way, and I can't let this part of the curve come past my dotted line here, and I can't let this part of the curve go below that squared off platform that I made. And when my curve hits that squared off platform, I'm going to stop tracing the curve. I'm not going to trace the curve up past that platform. It's okay if it doesn't get all the way to the underarm, or if it's not curved all the way to the underarm. So here we go. So my curve is hitting right here, the platform. So this platform is going to be the bottom of my armhole. I'm not going to follow the curve up. So that's what I get. And then just to show you one more time, things out of the way. When I put my side seams together, I get a smooth curve here, so it's not pointy, and I get a smooth curve down here as well. So I think we just have to finish labeling this. I already have my punch holes circled, I have bust level labeled, I have my apex labeled. I can use my big labels for my center front. And I can erase my little wimpy pencil one later. So center front goes right on my center front line. And that's going to go around there somewhere. What else do I have on there? This is for my sleeve, this is for my sleeve. So the rest of this is for my sleeve. So I'm going to start by drawing my grain line first. So maybe this guy. About an inch from center front and about an inch from the edge. So maybe my 18-inch one is better. Where's my, this one's also 12 inches, right? It's okay, I can use that. So, centered on my bodice, right about there. About an inch from center front. I'll draw my grain line. And then I'll go ahead around the corner of my ruler. And I'll make my little 1/2 inch arrowheads. So this is telling me that this piece needs to be mirrored. It's on the fold. So I'll give you a little glimpse into your future. At a minimum, you've had 1A. You've probably had, possibly maybe, pattern making Fash 5 as well. So you kind of know this process. The garment that we're making, the test fit garment, here is a flat sketch of it, which is also in canvas. So this is a pattern card, similar to the one we'll be making for this. So it's got a flat sketch. You see how there's no line down the front of this, but there is a line down the back. So this means that it's a whole front skirt. That's one piece. So we've drafted half of it, and same with the bodice. It's a whole, we've drafted half of it. So we're going to have to put our front bodice and our front skirt on the fold. That's why we have this bent arrow. And then in the back, it's two pieces, a right and a left skirt and a right and a left back bodice. That is why we have the straight arrow, to indicate that it's two pieces. And we also have written here 2, and once I put my label on here, we also have written here 1. So this is our this is a pattern card for the and then what do I have here? Is this another pattern card? Or is this the spec sheet? Yeah, that's another pattern card. So we'll go over this later, but just card. This is one that I created in Google Sheets. So I created a whole tech pack. And once you start entering some of the information on the cost sheet, the things that are the same in multiple places start populating on the pattern card and on the spec sheet. So you need to style, like all this information that's here pretty much needs to also be on the pattern card. So you need a style number, you need a style name, you need your dress form, you need your date, you need your name, you need, this is not just the date, it's the season and or semester and year. And then we need the actual date we're doing this, we need the size, and then we need the yield, which we'll figure out in a little bit. How much fabric do we need to make a whole garment? And then we have our piece names here. So front bodice, back bodice. Ultimately, we'll be making a sleeve, front skirt, back skirt, and then we have how many we need of each. So we need 1 front bodice, 2 back bodice, 2 sleeves, 1 front skirt, and 2 back skirts. And this is all written in red because it has no seam allowance, and that's really important to note when you're dealing with this. So, and inside this envelope, I bought a box of these envelopes. They can be, like, I just so happen to get lucky and find them relatively inexpensive from Office Depot, I think it was, but they're kind of wimpy, so I had to reinforce them with manila. And it just got me to thinking we can just make our own envelopes out of manila. So I'll put, I think I already did, but you can make your own envelope. I put instructions in Canvas, I think. If I didn't, I will. But inside of here, so I labeled the outside of the envelope, and then, well, first I do my rabbit punch. That's the first thing I do. Then I put my pattern card and everything on the outside of the envelope. And then after I do all that, I place my first patterns inside, folding them as little as possible. So if I can not fold them at all, that's great. Yeah. Also filled out my measurements to stick them on my patterns. So that's kind of part of the finished package. It's just one part. There's a couple other things we need to do as well. And then I wanted to show you one more thing, just because I noticed I have one here. This is the garment we'll be making. So this is the front. You can see it's on the fold. It's inside out on purpose. The dart excess is going towards center. I have my cross grain and my straight grain drawn on my bodice. I can also see the outline of my pattern here, and then the seam allowance is beyond it. And then I'll move down this way so you can see the skirt. Also the front, a little wrinkled in transit. But this is the front of the skirt. It's all one piece, so right and left, but there's no seam down the center. So we're going to have to mirror our pattern on the muslin. I've got my straight grain drawn. I've got my cross grain drawn. Really important. Without that, we can't get the information from this fit sample that we need. And then I'll flip her over. Oh, you can also see my seam allowances on the sides are pressed open. My waist seam allowances press up towards the waist. And then I'll flip her over so you can see the back. So this is her back. I wrote my name and the form number on my sample in the seam allowance. So my back is 2 pieces. So this is my back bodice right here up to the waist. And then this is my back skirt, which is sewn up to the HBL. It's sewn, it's open from the waist down to the HBL, and then below the HBL, it's sewn shut. This normally is pressed open, and there's a clip here because when I put this on the dress form, I have to pin this back shut. So I need it open down to the HBL, which is the widest part of the lower torso, so that I can get this tiny little waist over her, so it's open here, so that I can get the tiny little waist past her shoulders and her bust and everything and onto the dress form so that I can try it on. So this is what what's in store for you in the future. If you have a label, it's a good idea to put a label in it, but at a minimum, write your name neatly in the margin. And then also, whenever you sew a sample, you should also have some sort of a card, hang tag, I mean. So I used my business card on this one, but you can just get a piece of manila or print something on cardstock and cut it out or whatever. You can also buy tags and affix them to your garment permanently. So don't tie it with thread. This, I used a tag gun and a bullet. You could also use like ribbon or string and a safety pin. So you put the string through the tag and use the safety pin to pin it to your garment. It's usually on the wearer's left. In this case, it's a dress, so it would be in the underarm. So, and then this is on a hanger. It was pressed. And then I took it to school and back again inside of a garment bag as well to keep it clean. Right now, at this moment, as I speak, we have garment bags at PCC that are for you to use. They're like the dry cleaning bags, clear plastic dry cleaning bags that you can use to keep your garments safe. We have them in different lengths. So from, I think, 36 inches long maybe for like a bodice, all the way to, I think, maybe even 72 inches long for a really long dress. So make sure you look at the labels on the boxes if those garment bags are still there. Right now, as I speak, things move. But right now, as I speak, the garment bags are under the pattern making table closest to the door in R415, kind of near where we normally enter the dress form closet. Okay, so I need to finish putting my label on this, and then I need to also cut her out. Let's do that real quick. That's a fun thing to see on camera. I went ahead and checked everything so I know everything fits. So I can go ahead and cut out this whole waist. So I can tape that dart shut and then cut the waist. And I should get an interesting shape. So again, the dart excess, you can see the shadow of it there, should be pointing towards center. And then when I open it, I get that interesting little peak, the dart shaping, so that when I sew this shut, the dart at the bottom of the waist is the right shape to get caught in. This is going to be the seam line when we sew it together. So I can go ahead and notch my dart legs. And then once I cut the rest of this out, she's ready to go. Just FYI, on the front, I think I cut this off. Sometimes it's my MO on the center front that needs to be on the fold. Instead of cutting it, sometimes I just fold on the center front. It gives my center fronts a little more stability. But I'm going to follow the convention that I already started and cut everything out completely. So I'll cut out my neck, my shoulder, my side seam, my armhole, and my center front. And then I'll be ready to put this pattern onto muslin. And I'm going to do it in a very particular way. And I'll add seam allowance on the muslin. And then I'll cut the whole garment out with seam allowance, and I'll sew up my test fit sample. And so we'll probably start on that process, possibly maybe in the next video. Either that or drafting the sleeve. So see you in the next video. I feel like I should show you what this shape looks like. So, psych. So I added a 1/16 to the shoulder, so it's a little taller than my original to accommodate for all the seam allowance that's going to go on up there. And I should also write on here some measurements. So I should write like my bust depth measurement. I should write my armhole measurement. Well, I'll get to that when I do the sleeve. My side length. I already wrote my waist arc. My shoulder length. So my shoulder is 5 inches. My side length is 8.5. I already wrote my waist arc there. My center front to apex, so CF to apex is 3.5, and my bust depth is 7.25, which matches my measurement chart. That's great. So bust depth is 7.25. My center front length, so I don't have my center front on this measurement chart that's in front of me. That's okay. If we need it, we'll add it later. So that's my, move some stuff out of the way so you can see the shape. So that's the shape of my front bodice. I'm going to remove the tape from the dart at the shoulder and go ahead and cut out the rest of this back bodice so you can see that shape as well. So I'll cut down the center back. Cut out my neck. armhole. Looks like my is a little raggedy from the what do you call it? The tracing with the needle. So I'm just going to reinforce it with a little tape right there. The side seam should be a straight line, and it just looked like there was this little notch out of it right there, and I think it was because I ran over it too many times with the needle tracing wheel, needle point tracing wheel. So in curves, I often roll the paper out of my way like that. So I'm not creasing the paper, I'm just kind of curling it out of my way. So there's the whole shape of my back bodice. So I should write my measurements on that as well. So, dart placement is 3 inches. Waist arc is 6 3/8 plus 1/4 inch ease is 6 5/8. And then side length is 8 1/2. And then shoulder is 5 inches. Okay. Now we're ready for the next phase.